All right. Welcome to another narration of mine. Only the brave souls and the fearless ones stay until the end. It was supposed to be a dumb little weekend trip. 6 of us. Me, Martha, Marcus, Tasha, Louis, and Rachel. We were all in the same friend group since high school. College split us up, but we stayed in touch. Marcus's uncle had this old hunting cabin up near Rutland, Vermont. Really isolated, like 40 minutes from the nearest town, and most of the way was gravel. We had to use a cooler for food because the power was sketchy, and the only bathroom was an outhouse about 30 feet from the cabin. It was peaceful, I guess, but I remember that place never felt empty. Even when we first pulled up, it felt like something had been waiting for us. The second night, me and Marcus went out behind the cabin to look for firewood. We were drunk, yeah, but not blackout. Just a little buzzed. We were maybe 100 yards out when I kicked something in the dirt. It made this clunk, like metal on wood. We thought it was an old toolbox, or maybe a hunter had buried some gear. It was this small coffin-looking box, only about 2 feet long. Beat up wood, iron hinges, rusted to hell, but it still had a clasp. And there were carvings on it. Not words, just weird, scratchy shapes, almost like burn marks. The thing stank when we opened it, like mold and rot. Inside was an old Ouija board, handmade, not the kind from Walmart. It was carved into this dark, reddish wood, and there was a matching planchette in a small pouch beside it, tied shut, with animal sinew, or something that looked like it. The board wasn't in English. The letters were just wrong, like they tried to copy the Latin alphabet, but didn't understand how letters were supposed to look. We were both creeped out, but I won't lie, we laughed about it. Thought it was perfect for the cabin vibe. We brought it back with us. Martha was immediately freaked out. She wanted us to put it back where we found it, or just burn it. We didn't listen. Later that night, after we'd all been drinking and telling stories by the fire pit, someone brought out the board. I think it was Rachel. Or maybe it was me. I don't really remember who suggested it. We set the board on the table inside and lit candles. Stupid mood lighting, just for fun. Tasha was recording, joking that she was gonna send it to one of those YouTube ghost reaction channels. That recording is the last known video of all of us together. The board didn't work at first, or we thought it didn't. No movement, just us asking dumb questions. Marcus kept saying, "Is anyone there?" over and over, like an idiot. Then the planchette twitched. We all pulled our fingers off, thinking one of us pushed it. Marcus was like, "Yo, who the hell did that?" Martha was silent. It moved again, slow this time, under its own power. It scraped across the board, not spelling anything, just moving in a slow, jagged circle. We should have stopped, but no one did. No one even joked anymore. It was like the room got thicker. That's the only way I can describe it. Like the air had weight now. Heavy. Wet. Louis asked a question. What do you want? The planchette stopped. Then it started moving again, slower now, jittering like it was resisting. I don't remember what it spelled. That's the weird part. I watched it move. I remember seeing letters. But I can't remember a single one now. The power went out right after that. Pitch black. Candles blew out instantly, like someone slapped them all at once. There was screaming, shuffling. Someone knocked into the table and something cracked. I remember Rachel crying. Then silence. When the lights came back, because of course they did come back, flickering like an old TV, it was just me, Marcus, and Martha still in the room. Everyone else had scattered. Martha was sitting in the corner, arms wrapped around herself, whispering something I couldn't hear. Marcus was holding his leg, saying it was cramping. But when I looked down, this part messes me up even now. His shin bone was pushed out, not like a clean break. It was twisted, bones split like splinters pushing through the skin, but there was no blood, just the pale stretch of skin, like whatever had broken him had done it slowly. He passed out. We called 911. When the paramedics came, they had to drive an ATV up part of the trail because the ambulance couldn't make it through the mud. Marcus was airlifted the next morning. They said they had to amputate. His leg was crushed from the inside out. That's what the surgeon told me when I visited him. Martha never made it back with us. Her body was found 8 miles from the cabin, in the middle of a beaver pond. No shoes, no coat. Her fingernails were torn off, like she'd clawed at the ice trying to get out. The pond wasn't even fully frozen, and she wasn't a weak swimmer. The cops said it looked like she'd been held under. But no one could explain how she got out there, or why. I don't remember what happened after that night. I really don't. Not even fragments. It's like there's a whole 24 hours missing. When we were questioned, Rachel wouldn't look at me. Lewis kept asking the cops if I was still in there. Tasha hasn't spoken to me since. I got cleared. There was no evidence. The official story says we found an old board. Marcus had an accident. Martha got drunk and wandered off. That's not what happened. There's something wrong with me. When I got back, I started finding things I know I didn't write. Pages, drawings, scratches on my closet walls, deep and symmetrical, like I had been trying to claw something out or in. My cat won't come near me anymore. She used to sleep on my chest every night. Now she hides under the couch and hisses when I get close. And the worst part? I still have the board. I don't know how. I swear we left it behind. But it's in my closet, wrapped in the same sinew cord, packed inside that same wooden coffin. The carvings darker than before, like something burned into the grain. I haven't opened it again. Yet. It's been 2 months since the trip, and I still don't know how to talk about what's been happening. People act like I'm fine. I pass for normal. But the people who were there, the ones that survived, They don't talk to me anymore. Marcus won't return my texts. Rachel blocked me on everything. Tasha moved out of our apartment the day after the funeral and didn't even pack half her stuff. Left her cat behind. Louis transferred schools. None of them said goodbye. They didn't even have the decency to fake it. They just vanished. And I can't blame them. I've been wrong. Not sick, not crazy, just wrong. The first time I knew for sure something was off was the morning after I got home. I found blood under my fingernails. Not dried, fresh, still tacky. There were bite marks on the inside of my cheeks, like I'd chewed the skin raw while I was sleeping. My pillow was wet, soaked straight through. Not sweat. Drool. I don't even drool. It was disgusting. The whole room smelled like copper. And then there was the noise. Not footsteps, not whispers, nothing stupid like that. It was this wet clicking. It started at night, not outside, not in the walls. It was inside me. At first, I thought it was a jaw thing, like maybe I was grinding my teeth. But when I went to the mirror, I saw it. My tongue was twitching in my mouth like it didn't belong to me. It was clicking against my teeth, moving in these sharp little jerks, like it was trying to talk or spell something. I shoved my hand in my mouth and bit down until I tasted blood. After that, it started getting worse. I blacked out at my job. I work at a gas station. Nothing crazy, mostly night shifts. Cameras caught me walking into the cooler and just standing there for 37 minutes. Not moving, not talking, not looking at anything. Just standing in the dark. When my manager came to check on me, I tried to bite her. I don't remember any of that. They fired me, obviously. But the part that messes me up is what the camera saw right before I came out. They said I opened one of the boxes in the back and pulled something out. They thought it was drugs at first, but it wasn't. I'd written on the inside wall of the cooler in thick red marker, "Never say it out loud." The letters were upside down and backwards. I didn't own a red marker. I started keeping a log of the blackouts, tried to track how often they happened. Sometimes it was hours. Once I woke up in the middle of a Walmart parking lot with glass in my hands and no shoes. Another time, I woke up in my shower, fully clothed, water scalding hot, skin on my back blistered from standing under it too long. But none of that compares to what I found in my journal. I don't even keep a journal. Never have. But one morning, I woke up with this tattered spiral notebook on my chest. Pages torn out, some covered in what looked like ink or dried paint. But a few pages were clean, just lined paper and careful, tidy handwriting. The first entry was dated a week before we went to the cabin. It started with, "I think it knows what I'll do before I do." The rest was worse. Page after page of predictions. Stuff I hadn't done yet. Conversations I hadn't had. Places I hadn't gone. And the further I flipped, the less the entries made sense. They started writing in third person, then second. Then it stopped referring to anyone at all. Just statements. Skin is just another lock. Teeth don't matter. Tongue remembers. If she drowns, the deal holds. You said yes, even if you don't remember. The eye under the board is open. Stop looking. I tried to throw the notebook away, burn it, rip it, tossed it in the canal behind my building. Every time, I'd find it again in my bed the next morning. Always open to the same page, the one with my name written over and over. Not just scribbled, carved into the paper with something sharp, like the tip of a knife or a needle. And now, I'm not alone at night. I don't mean people. I mean me. I'm not the only one in here anymore. There's this gap in my thoughts sometimes. A pause. Like I'll be thinking about food or texting someone, and I'll hit a mental dead end. My thoughts stop. Go completely blank for a second. And when they come back, I'm not thinking about the same thing anymore. I'll be thinking about the board. And the weird thing is, I didn't want to open it again, but I already did. I didn't know until I found the footage. My old laptop under my bed, completely dead for weeks. I booted it up just to look through old pictures, distract myself. There was a folder on the desktop called Don't. Inside were 5 video files, each about a minute long. No sound. They show me, in my room, late at night, sitting on the floor. The board in front of me, candle lit, eyes wide open, unblinking, just staring at the planchette as it moves on its own. In one of the videos, I pick it up and stab it into my arm. There's no sound, no reaction, no blood. Just this tiny, pointed end pressing into my flesh like I'm trying to dig something out of myself. The last video shows me smiling. Not a creepy smile or anything exaggerated. Just calm, peaceful. Then I blow out the candle, and the screen goes black. That's when the dreams started. Always the same place. A narrow hallway, lined with windows. But there's no light outside. Just black. Not even stars. I walk past the windows and see my reflection. But it's not me. The face is wrong. The mouth keeps moving, like it's trying to speak, but there's no sound. The first time I had the dream, I woke up with dirt under my fingernails again, and something in my hand. It was the planchette, not the one from the board. A different one, made of bone, cracked down the middle, still warm. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I made it or if it was given to me, but I keep it in my drawer now. I can't throw it away. I've tried. Something happens every time I try. Power goes out. My nose bleeds. The hallway dream starts playing again in flashes while I'm awake. Like pieces of my mind keep glitching into that place. And now, there's something under my skin. I can feel it. It moves. It writes. Sometimes when I'm sitting still, I feel this heat crawling up my neck, like a burning wire threading through my spine. It pulses, but not with pain, with purpose, like it's preparing me for something. I know the others blame me. Marcus won't say it, but he knows. He remembers more than he lets on. He sent me a message 3 days ago. No words, just a picture. It was his hospital bed. Leg gone. A mirror in the background. And in the mirror was a reflection of someone standing next to him. But he was alone in the room. And the thing in the mirror, it was smiling, just like I did in the video. I spent the last 2 weeks trying to convince myself it wasn't real. All of it. The board, the videos, the hallucinations, Marcus's leg, Martha drowning. I told myself maybe it was a bad trip. That someone laced our drinks, or we inhaled mold spores from the cabin. Some kind of shared psychosis. People have lost their minds for less, right? That's what I wanted to believe. Until last Sunday, when I went to see Martha's mom. I shouldn't have done it. I know that. But I needed answers, and the cops weren't giving me anything. Every time I called the station in Rutland, they just said the case was closed. No foul play. Accidental drowning. Toxicology showed alcohol. Bullshit. She didn't drink that night. She was the only one who didn't. I drove to their house just after noon. It's out near the edge of town, real quiet, trees practically strangling the property. The kind of place you could scream for hours, and no one would hear you. Her mom, Diane, opened the door and froze. Her face. She aged 10 years in 2 months. No makeup, hair messy, robe tied all wrong. She didn't even look surprised to see me, just tired. "I thought you'd come sooner," she said. She didn't invite me in, just walked back inside, expecting me to follow. I did. Their house still had pictures of Martha on every wall. Her school portraits, vacation pics, her and me at prom. But all of them had a strip of black tape across the bottom. Same size, same spot, covering her mouth. The whole living room smelled like matches and vinegar, burnt sage maybe. There were bowls of cloudy water in every corner, half of them filled with what looked like teeth. Human teeth. She led me to the dining table. There was a box on it. Cardboard. Old. Stained. She slid it across to me. "She mailed this to herself," Diane said. I opened the box. Inside was a stack of photos, rubber banded tight. Polaroids. I flipped through them. They were of us, from the cabin. But not pictures anyone took. Not the kind you pose for. These were from the woods. Grainy, zoomed-in shots of us walking, laughing, sitting by the fire. Each photo was taken from a distance, like someone had been stalking us the whole time. The last picture in the stack was of me, not facing the camera, looking at it, eyes locked with the lens, half a smirk, candlelight behind me, planchette in my hand. Diane didn't say anything else, just watched me, her eyes dull, like she wasn't expecting a reaction. She pointed to the photo of me. "That's not when she died," she said. "That's when you gave her away." I left without another word, drove straight home, tried to stay calm, thought maybe it was grief talking. But when I checked my phone later that night, the photo was already saved in my gallery. I never took a picture of it. I tried calling Diane to ask how she got those photos. No answer. I called again. Voicemail. 3 hours later, news broke online that she'd set herself on fire in her backyard. Neighbors said she walked out to the grass, poured gasoline, and sat down like she was waiting for something. They found the teeth bowls arranged in a circle around the scorch mark, each filled to the rim. None of the teeth were hers. The next day, I started vomiting up dirt. Not normal puke, just dry clumps of soil. Worms, too. I counted 6, still squirming. I went to the ER. They scanned me, scoped me, ran blood work. Nothing. They said my body was fine. Healthy. The nurse smiled at me when I left, but her hand was shaking so hard the clipboard nearly slipped. That night, I pulled the coffin out again. I didn't want to. I really didn't. But I had this dream, maybe it was a memory, of digging in the woods. I was barefoot, shirtless, covered in scratches. Something was in the dirt with me, not helping, just watching. When I woke up, my feet were stained black, like I'd been walking barefoot through soot. And the bottom of the closet, the one I keep locked with a chain now, was open. The coffin was sitting out in the middle of the room, not on the floor, on the bed. It was already open. Inside was a new board, not the same one, same wood, same size, but the carvings were deeper, faint red stains across the edges. Not paint, something darker. The planchette was gone, but in its place was a sliver of flesh. I couldn't tell if it was human or not. I didn't touch it. I didn't have to. The lights cut out for half a second. Not a flicker, a blackout. When they came back on, writing was etched across the walls. Thin, barely visible lines, like scratches from a pin or scalpel. I counted 37 names. Mine was the first. Martha's was the third. Marcus's was fifth. But the others, I didn't recognize them, except one. A girl I knew in high school, Kendall Reyes. She went missing when we were 17. Her mom still posts on Facebook about her. I always thought she ran away, but her name was number 14 on the list. 2 days ago, I woke up to find my fingernails torn off. All 10. No blood. Just exposed pink skin, like the nails had never been there to begin with. Underneath each nail bed, someone, or something, had etched tiny symbols. Not letters, just tiny, identical carvings. Circles with 3 vertical lines through them. And yesterday, Marcus's sister messaged me. I don't even know how she got my number. But her message was short. She said Marcus has been having seizures every night. Doctors can't explain it. He screams in his sleep. They have to strap him down. Last night, he chewed through his tongue. When they pried his jaw open, he was trying to spell something with the blood on the pillow. 3 letters. C-A-L. My name. I didn't respond. I just stared at my phone until it dimmed. And when I looked up at the window, I saw a reflection. Not mine. Just arms. Dirty. Bent the wrong way. Fingers dragging across the glass. But when I turned around, the room was empty. I didn't sleep last night. And I know what's coming next. I know because the name at the bottom of the list on my wall, the last one added, was Rachel. I didn't go looking for Rachel. I need to make that clear. I know how this looks on paper, and I know how people will read it later if this ever gets out. But I didn't track her, didn't follow her, didn't stalk her online. I didn't even know where she was staying. She came to me. 3 nights after Marcus's sister messaged me, I woke up to someone sitting at the edge of my bed. Not standing, not looming, just sitting there, like you'd sit on a bus seat that still felt warm from the last person. It was Rachel. Her hair was cut short now, uneven, like she'd done it herself with scissors that weren't meant for hair. She looked thinner. Her eyes were bloodshot, but focused. Too focused. She didn't scream. I didn't either. We just looked at each other for a long time. "You don't lock your window anymore," she said. I told her I didn't remember unlocking it. She nodded. Like that answer made sense. She told me she'd been sleeping in her car for weeks. That every place she stayed felt occupied. That she could hear water moving even when there were no pipes. That sometimes she'd wake up with her mouth full of dirt and have to spit it into empty coffee cups so she wouldn't choke. She rolled up her sleeve. There were marks on her arm. Not cuts, not bruises. They looked like pressure marks, deep and oval, like something had gripped her hard enough to leave an imprint, but not break the skin. She said, "It happens when I dream about you." That's when I knew. They didn't just blame me. They were right to be afraid. Rachel said she remembered the night at the cabin differently than the rest of us. She said when the lights went out, everyone ran. Everyone except me. She said I stayed seated at the table, hands flat on the board, head tilted like I was listening to instructions. She said Martha was crying, begging. Not to stop, but to let her help. Rachel tried to grab her, but the floor felt soft, like mud, like it didn't want her to move. Then she said something I haven't been able to shake. She said I told Martha she didn't have to be scared because drowning was the cleanest trade. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember anything. But Rachel swore she heard it. She said she watched me carve something into my arm with the edge of the planchette. Not deep, just enough to mark. She said the board moved faster after that. She started crying then. Not loud, just leaking. She told me she tried to forget everything after. Tried therapy. Tried medication. Tried religion. Nothing worked. Every time I sleep, she said, I wake up closer to the pond. She told me she could smell it now. Rotting leaves, old water, that thick, sour stink you get when something's been dead too long but hasn't floated yet. She grabbed my wrist. Her grip was desperate, painful. You're still connected, she said. I can feel it. Whatever it is, it's still using you. I asked her what she wanted from me. She said she needed me to finish it. That's when I told her to leave. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just said she needed to go. And I meant it. I could feel something tightening inside my chest, like a knot being pulled from both ends. The air in the room felt wrong again. Dense. Pressurized. Rachel stood up slowly. She backed toward the window, like she was afraid to turn her back on me. Before she climbed out, she said one last thing. If I die, she said, it won't be an accident. She left muddy footprints on my floor. They didn't fade. They dried there, dark and cracked, like the floor had absorbed them. The next morning, I checked the wall. Rachel's name was gone from the list. There was a new one underneath it. Mine. Again. Twice. That same day, the police knocked on my door. They asked me when I'd last spoken to Rachel. I told them the truth. That she came by the night before. That she was scared. That she talked about water. They exchanged a look when I said that. They told me they'd found her car parked near the same beaver pond where Martha was pulled out. Engine cold, driver's door open. No sign of a struggle. They asked me if I wanted to come down to the station. I said no. They didn't push it. Just handed me a card and told me to call if I remembered anything important. After they left, I noticed something in my pocket. A small object. Smooth. Familiar. The bone planchette. Still warm. I dropped it on the floor and stepped back. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. I hadn't touched it in days. I hadn't even opened the drawer. And yet, there it was. That night, I finally understood why the others were afraid of me. Not because I was dangerous, but because I was useful. I sat on the floor and stared at the coffin for hours. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I could feel what was inside. Not a presence, not a voice, a mechanism. Something that worked only when enough people were involved. Something that needed permission, not once, but continuously, over and over again. I wasn't possessed. I was trained. The dreams came back harder. Not the hallway this time. The woods. the dirt. My hands digging while someone else told me where to dig. My arms burned with effort, but I didn't stop. When I woke up, my fingernails were back, new, clean, and underneath them, the symbols were gone, replaced with numbers, coordinates. I checked them. They lead back to the cabin. I drove back up north 2 nights ago. I didn't tell anyone. There's no one left to tell. The drive took longer this time. Roads I remembered were different now. Older, more narrow, like they'd been forgotten or rerouted. I kept having to check the GPS, even though I knew the way, even though the route was burned into my head like a brand. The sky looked sick when I got close, gray with a yellow tint, like it was sweating. The trees leaned harder here too, overgrown, tight, like they'd grown closer together in the time I'd been gone. When I pulled up to the cabin, I half expected the whole thing to be gone, burned down, caved in, something. But it was still there, exactly as we left it. I stood in the doorway for a long time, trying to feel something. Nothing came, just a dull, tight ache behind my eyes. The air inside was heavy with rot, like wet wood and spoiled milk. Flies buzzed low along the floor. There were no footprints, no signs of life, but the board was already waiting for me. Not in the box, not hidden. It was laid out on the table, clean, centered, polished, like someone had been caring for it. And when I stepped inside, the candle lit itself. That's when everything came back. It wasn't instant. It didn't hit me like a movie flashback or a sudden jolt. It came in slow, like remembering you left the stove on after you've already gone to bed, like waking up with a word in your mouth and not knowing what language it's from. I sat down. I didn't remember doing that. I put my fingers on the board. I didn't remember doing that either. But the planchette started moving, and the memories came with it. Not all at once, one after another, sharp, short, surgical. Martha screaming in the trees, me dragging her toward the pond, her hands slipping on the ice as I whispered things I didn't understand. Marcus begging while I held the axe. Rachel tied to the bed, crying while I traced symbols into her arms with a piece of glass. Tasha locked in the outhouse, pounding until her hands bled. And I just stood there. Louis. God, I still don't know where I left Louis. They never stood a chance. And I don't remember any of it. Not in the way you're supposed to remember something. I see it, but it's not like a memory. It's like watching someone else. But I know it's me. The way I moved. The way I tilted my head when I spoke. The way I kept whispering the same word over and over as I pushed Martha under the ice. Offered. I never meant to summon anything. I was the summoning. The others, they weren't random. We weren't friends by accident. I was meant to find them, guide them, deliver them. That's what the board was for. Not a game, not a gateway, a ledger, a list of what's owed, a list of what's been claimed, a list of who signs the bottom line, the names on my wall. That wasn't a warning. It was a receipt. Every time one of them did or disappeared, the board added another mark under my name. Transaction complete. I was the collector, and it never let me forget it. Not really. It just turned it down, kept the volume low, hid the memories behind the noise of daily life, so I could be useful again, so I could bring more. I don't know how long it's been happening. I don't know if the cabin is where it started, or just where I remembered it. But I know this now. I never left that place. My body did, sure. I went home, got a job, talked to people. But me? I'm still sitting at that table. I'm always sitting at that table. The last twist is the worst part. The part I haven't told anyone. The part I didn't even know until I read the notebook again. Not the one with the predictions. A new one. Smaller. Black leather. It was waiting on the table next to the board when I arrived. One page, written. No date, no handwriting I recognize. Just this. You finished the list. You did well. Now start over. And underneath it, a new name. Yours.